Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're tackling, well, one of the biggest questions out there, the reality of pain and suffering.
It's something everyone grapples with.
Absolutely. And our mission today is to unpack how the Reformed Christian worldview offers a framework for understanding why it exists and, maybe surprisingly, what purpose it serves. We're drawing on some key theological texts and philosophical ideas here.
Right, and this isn't just head knowledge, is it? It's about finding real meaning, maybe even comfort, when facing life's hardest things. It really tries to reconcile a good, all-powerful God with the suffering we see.
Okay, so let's lay down the foundational pillars. First up, this idea of God's absolute sovereignty. The belief that everything that happens is ordained by God.
Whatsoever comes to pass, as the confession puts it.
Exactly. But then there's this tension, because it also says he isn't the author of sin, and he doesn't, force our choices. How does that fit together?
Yeah, that's the core of what's called compatibilism. It sounds tricky, but the idea is God is fully in control, orchestrating things, without canceling out our genuine freedom or responsibility.
So he works through things, like our choices.
Precisely. Through second causes. That includes human decisions, natural events, everything to bring about his ultimate purposes. Even, and this is key, through suffering. He doesn't directly do the evil, but he governs its existence.
Okay. That's a lot to chew on. Now, linked to sovereignty is the view on human nature, total depravity.
Which sounds harsh, I know.
It does, but it doesn't mean we're all as monstrous as we could possibly be, right?
Not at all. It means sin has affected every part of us, our minds, our wills, our affections. No part is left untouched.
So that classic question, why do bad things happen to good people? This view flips it.
Completely. It suggests, biblically speaking, the real situation is good and bad things happen to bad people. Because from this perspective, none of us are truly good in the sense of being sinless. It shifts the whole baseline.
And any good we do see, kindness, order, beauty,
that's chalked up to God's common grace. It's his general, undeserved kindness to all humanity, holding back the full effects of sin, preventing total chaos. It keeps us from being as bad as we could possibly be.
Okay, so sovereignty, human nature, which points us back to the origin story, right? The fall.
The fall of man, yeah. Adam and Eve's disobedience, it's seen as poisoning human nature itself, introducing not just moral evil, like sin from our own desires,
but also natural evil, like earthquakes, disease.
Yes, natural evil is viewed as a consequence of the moral evil. The whole creation is described as groaning under the weight of sin, waiting for redemption.
So bringing these pieces together, how does this framework specifically answer the problem of evil?
Well, it tends to critique other explanations, like the free will defense, sometimes arguing that approach might inadvertently limit God's power, his omnipotence.
By suggesting he can't control free choices.
Something like that. The Reformed view fundamentally roots the problem in our sin, stemming from the fall, not in any lack within God himself.
Now, this is where it gets really intense, I think. The cross.
The cross of Christ, yes.
Arguably the most evil event in history, right? The execution of God's innocent son.
Absolutely. A horrific injustice driven by human sin.
Yeah. This framework sees it as the ultimate proof that God can ordain even the worst evil for the greatest good without being tainted by that evil himself.
Exactly. It becomes the paradigm. It suggests this profound, difficult idea. It is good that there is evil. Not that evil itself is good, never that.
But that its existence serves a higher purpose in God's plan.
Precisely. Like an artist using dark colors to make the bright ones stand out more intensely, God orchestrates everything, even the darkest events, to ultimately display his glory, his justice, his mercy, in a way that wouldn't be possible otherwise. The cross is the ultimate example. Greatest evil yields greatest good.
So bringing it down to us, what's the implication? Suffering isn't just random static.
No, it's seen as having purpose. It can be a manifestation of God's justice, a sort of wake-up call prompting repentance, asking yourself, am I right with God?
But for those who believe, there's more to it.
Oh, definitely. For believers, suffering is also a key tool for sanctification.
That's the process of becoming more like Christ.
Exactly. Like a refiner purifying silver, or a gardener pruning a branch so it bears more fruit. It shapes us, conforms us to Christ, who himself learned obedience and was perfected through suffering, in a sense.
Which must bring a certain kind of comfort, knowing nothing is outside his control, even the really hard stuff.
That's the goal. That promise in Romans 8.28, all things work together for good, is central. It means even personal pain isn't meaningless in the grand scheme, even if we don't see how right now.
But that's the hard part, isn't it? When you can't see the reason.
It is. And that's where faith comes in. Faith, almost by definition, means trusting God's character, his goodness and wisdom, even when his purposes are hidden. It forces reliance on him, not our understanding.
So wrapping this up, this deep dive shows the Reformed view offers a remarkably coherent system. It takes suffering seriously, but frames it within God's sovereign redemptive plan. It moves it from just a confusing problem to something purposeful.
And the ultimate hope isn't just understanding, but transformation. The promise that evil doesn't win. God will have the last word. He promises to wipe away every tear to make all things new.
So the final thought for you listening, how does this perspective, this idea that even profound pain fits into a larger sovereign design, how might that change the way you look at the hardships you face? Something to consider.